Last week it was reported that Timothy Olyphant had been casted as a role in Mandalorian Season 2, but no one knew what specific role. But now we have information from Slash Film that he will be wearing the Boba Fett armor in the Mandalorian Season 2, which unfortunately is kind of confusing for a lot of people, because if you remember, they also announced from The Hollywood Reporter that Tamara Morrison is playing Boba Fett in Mandalorian Season 2, and I assumed when I heard this news about Olyphant was he was just going to be, kind of the stunt guy. He was going to give that Western feel to Boba Fett due to his history playing those kind of roles. Well, then I read the rest of the report, and the story just got so much more interesting. They say that he is not playing Boba Fett, he's playing a different character, a guy named Cobb Vanth, I think is how you say it. But they say if Morrison is playing the role of Boba Fett, then Timothy Olyphant is playing a enigmatic character named Cobb Vanth, introduced in Chuck Wendig's Aftermath book series. Vanth is the self-appointed sheriff of Tatooine-based settlement Freetown. He wears a mysterious set of Mandalorian armor that was acquired from Jawas, who scavenged the wreckage of the Jabba the Hutt sail barge shortly after the events of Return of the Jedi. As you may recall, that was the site of the battle where Boba Fett was thrown into the Sarlacc pit on Tatooine's Dune Sea. It's assumed that the Mandalorian armor purchased by Vanth is Boba Fett. And I remember reading the Aftermath trilogy. They weren't great books, but they had a lot of chapters in them that had nothing to do with the main story and had to do with kind of spin-off stories like this. Some had to do with like Darth Vader's lightsaber, and this right here, picking up Boba Fett's armor, and it kind of hinted at in that story that Boba Fett himself had died, but the armor was still going to be worn by someone else, and I guess it's this guy Cobb right here, and that's who Timothy's playing. And I think that's adding a lot more to the story of what's going to happen, because if Tamara Morrison has been cast as Boba Fett, then that means the character actually has lived on. Maybe he survived the Sarlacc pit, and that's how they got hold of his armor, and they just took it off his body, and he survived, which makes things more interesting as well, because Cobb was at the end of, I think it was Chapter 5 with Dave Filoni, the ending credits, or right before the ending credits. The last scene was Boba Fett walking up to that dead body. And I think they were hinting at that, but it was just the Boba Fett armor. We all knew it was Boba Fett. I felt like it was intended to hint that it was Boba Fett. And I think that was supposed to be a big twist for the season, of having Boba Fett appear. You think it's him, they take off the helmet, and you don't know who this guy is. And casual audiences, and maybe even people like me, or people who are more into the Aftermath books and have kept up with the new, I guess you call it expanded universe, the canon universe, the new Star Wars books. If you keep up with that, you would be like, oh, I know who this guy is. I know who Cobb Vanth is. This isn't a surprise. But then you bring back Boba Fett himself as Tamara Morrison, and you're like, oh, this has another huge twist to the story. And I think I kind of... my big problem with the announcement of all these cameos with Boba Fett and Tamara Morrison playing Boba Fett, and apparently also Rex, was I feel like it was doing too much fan service and not really doing a proper story. This is great, honestly. This makes me eat my words if this is true, and we get to watch the show, and there's a big twist like this, and hopefully people who don't keep up with the Star Wars news, the casual Star Wars fans, are surprised with this cameo, with this new character, and this big twist of Boba Fett probably taking off his helmet and it being this character you've never heard of, this guy who got the Boba Fett armor, and maybe Tamara Morrison, who actually is Boba Fett, is trying to get it back. Why is Rex there? Ahsoka, Sabine, Hera Syndulla, Bo-Katan. Apparently all these cameos are happening in Season 2 of The Mandalorian, and I'm okay with that as long as it works to the story. That was my big problem with all these announcements, was I felt like it was too much for the fan service, in a sense. It wasn't actual storytelling. But if they're going to do something like this with a Boba Fett armor and make that a central piece between Boba Fett himself and Cobb, I think that'll be a good story. And how the Mandalorian himself, Din Djarin, is involved with it. I had to take back a lot of my criticism so far about the Mandalorian Season 2. Before it's even come out, I really think these should have been saved for this show. These spoilers kind of suck sometimes, but it's also interesting news and makes me more excited for Season 2 to see how the story plays out. I really did think for a while that they were doing too much casting, because they casted me. I mean, I told you guys I have a cameo in Mandalorian Season 2. There's so many cameos, I had to get mine in. I'm in Episode 3, by the way, so look out for that. My hype for Season 2 of The Mandalorian has grown just a little bit more, though, because the idea of them using Season 2 to catapult a lot of spin-off series with someone like Ahsoka in live action, or Even Boba Fett is rumored to get his own movie or his own series and show, kind of like the Mandalorian and like Cassian Andor and Kenobi have going on. Maybe this conflict, this story between Tamara Morrison's Boba Fett and Cobb by Timothy Olyphant, who has the Boba Fett armor, maybe that's going to go into the Boba Fett series. Maybe that's going to go into the Boba Fett film that might come on Disney Plus. Seems like the Mandalorian is where all the good Star Wars action comes out of. I don't know. We have had Taika Waititi go from director of the Mandalorian to a director of a Star Wars film, and now Deborah Chow's directing the Kenobi series. And we have other people from Mandalorian Season 1 coming back for Season 2. And Season 2, we have a lot of cameos with a lot of other stars like Ahsoka, and now Boba Fett, and now Cobb wearing the Boba Fett armor. Looks like Season 2 is shaping up pretty nicely, but I want to hear your thoughts. What do you think about Mandalorian Season 2? All the casting news and all the cameos we're getting and whatnot, and the new twists we have in the story for the Boba Fett armor. Star Wars only. Hope you guys enjoyed this video. Please like, comment, and subscribe. I will see you all next time, and may the Force be with you always.